Hi, everyone. So I'm making this video to show you how to go from our memoir plan into our memoir draft. And basically, when we're taking our story from planning to drafting, we want to make sure that we take every piece of our plan and include it in the draft of the memoir. So the exposition includes the characters and the setting. That's probably going to come out throughout the text. So I don't need to start at the beginning and say, this is a story that takes place in Somerville. But I do need to show something about where it takes place throughout the memoir. Where I do need to start my story and make sure that we know about it from the beginning is the conflict, because that's the problem. That's the main, that significant person, place, or event. That's my conflict, okay? So the conflict in my story is that my apartment burned down. So I'm gonna highlight this in pink. When I start my draft, I need to include that conflict right from the jump, because otherwise my reader's not gonna know what's going on. So I start by saying it was early in the morning, the day after the last day of my first year of teaching. I woke up with a strange feeling in my stomach and a text on my phone from my friend Alex, who lived in New York. Are you okay? Somehow I knew immediately that the apartment had burned down, and I was right. The image was right there on Facebook, posted by my roommate. I jumped in my car and headed over, but I couldn't find a place to park. The entire area was blocked by fire trucks. I finally found a spot and ran up just in time to see the flames licking out of the front windows. So, this part here, right at the beginning, I'm setting up my conflict. Then, as I look on my plan, what comes after conflict? Rising action. So, I have three pieces of rising action in my plan: the moment right after the fire, the time a week later, and then how I spent the summer with nowhere to live. Okay. So, each kind of piece of rising action is going to wind up being at least a paragraph in my actual memoir. So, I'm going to make this orange. I guess I'll make it like a rainbow. So pink to orange. So these rising action parts, so this is right after the fire, right? That first piece of the rising action is going to be the next piece in the memoir. Right after the fire, I'd been allowed in the building for 5 minutes. Time to collect my passport, my medicine, my teddy bear. I took all of my clothes to the laundromat, then headed for the plane. Okay, then I keep going. I say a week later, that's the next piece. And then that whole summer. So this is all my rising action. Notice that the rising action takes up the bulk of the piece. The rising action is most of the story. So now what comes next? We have our conflict, rising action. The next piece is climax. So I finally found an apartment and I had a crazy move. This is the climax of the story because that's the turning point, right? Once I find an apartment, I wasn't homeless anymore. Oops. So that's the climax of the story. That's where the conflict begins to turn around. So here we go. I found an apartment. It fell through. Maya came with me to keep looking, and I was tired, tired, tired. But I just kept going because I had to. Finally, in mid August, 2 months after I'd lost my last apartment, I was able to move into someplace new. For 5 nights straight, we made trips in my Civic, gathering my things, my partner's things. So there is our climax. So now we're going to have falling action, conclusion maybe. So the falling action is that I finished moving in and it was my birthday. Oh, I forgot to color that. It's going to be green. And then the resolution was that I had a place to live and I learned a lot because that's the end of the story. So, once again, for me, the falling action and resolution are really sort of the same. And that's okay. We might not have a ton of falling action because this is a short memoir. So, as you can see, my falling action is like literally a sentence. That's all right. And then, but it's resolved. What's this last piece? Hmm. Well, what's the last part of my plan? Ah, the theme. My themes that I thought I might include are that people are more important than possessions and that good friends and family are there for you no matter what. So let's see. I don't know why this is moving all over the place. Highlight that in purple. For every difficult moment of that summer, and there were many, there was also a moment of my friends and family stepping up to help. I had somewhere to sleep each night, and I had someone to make me laugh every day. Despite what I lost in the fire, I gained the knowledge that in my hardest times, I was not alone. So at the very end of my story, I included my theme. You might not say your theme straight up like I did, but you definitely want to include it toward the end of your story. We want your reader to know what you learned and what they could learn from reading this story at the end. So now I'm going to look back over my plan. I definitely included my characters, so that's good. Did I include anything about the setting? So I did because I described what it looked like, but I didn't say where it was. So maybe I should add that. Well, maybe I should say my apartment. In the heart of Somerville, Mass. Had burned down. So now I did orient the reader in the setting. So now I can see because I color coded and I double checked, I've got everything I need in my draft. And then when I go back and revise, maybe I'll move some of this around. I might kind of change the timing of my story. And that's cool. But for our draft, let's just make sure we get everything out there.